page where this is. Where can I find the page here? I thought I had it open here. I think we're live somewhere, but let me see. Got a million things open here. Got my chan open, which we don't need yet. Let's see, where is it? So, well, I did tweet it. I'll just go back to the tweet and find it again.
I've got it open here.
Okay, guys, I'm assuming you guys can all hear me and see me. Good to see you all. I just, here we go. I just, here we go. Okay. Mom, I'm Hikosaemon. You tweeted something about mom and housework.
Did I?
Some tattoos. That's what I've got. 3 minutes ago, you did tattoos. Here we go. Okay, I see it. Okay, yeah, there we are. Okay. And I'm on YouTube. Hi, guys. How you doing? We've got a small group of 24 people. Good to see you guys. Eric, get Germanized. Hey, Dave O'Sutter, Eric Bailey, Logic Cost. Yeah. So let me just explain real quick. I got one of my videos removed on the other channel. Not a big deal. It's minor really, but it's kind of silly. So they say I can't broadcast on Gimmeabreakman for next, I don't know how long. I'm assuming it's 6 months.
That sounds pretty heavy.
It's usually that way.
So the channel isn't shut down. It's just the streaming. You can't.
Yeah. So when you get a video removed, you get shut down for 6 months. So.
Well,
the streaming option. If you get 2 or 3, then you get. I think if you get 2, you can't upload anymore.
You messaged me today that you were shut down for 6 months, and I was kind of like, whoa, that's kind of heavy.
No, it's standard. I mean, it's happened to me before.
Oh,
you know.
But I thought you meant the entire channel. I didn't realize that.
I don't know. Just the streaming. Sorry, just the streaming is gone. So not a big deal. I'm sure it just probably, to be honest, it's probably a troll who reported a video. I don't even know what it was. I'm not really concerned. I have tons of channels. So if they shut down one channel for streaming, I just do another one. So it doesn't matter, right? But someone has a lot of free time, I guess, so they went through the videos and reported a bunch of videos, I guess. But I don't even know which one exactly supposedly violated the rules, whatever they were. But that's fine. Hey, good to see you again. As you can see, I've got my my Deadpool T-shirt on. I just got the Deadpool 2 movie. It's a lot of fun if you haven't seen it yet.
I haven't seen it. You recommend it?
Well, if you like disgusting, funny. Funny and romantic videos. It's fun. It's a fun, really ultra-violent, video that I'm sure it's hard to share with my son because he's a 3-year-old. But his big question with Deadpool is not why is he shooting people or why is he doing this or that. His big question is why doesn't he have a mouth?
Good question.
Why doesn't he have a mouth? He doesn't have a mouth. So we can't really watch it together, but. I watch I can show little bits of it,
Yeah.
As long as no one's dying in it, which is kind of hard to do. But anyway, sorry, my room's kind of a mess today. Just my wife threw everything from the we have like a spare room, and anything she didn't like, she put it in here today. You can see in the back.
Yeah.
Does your wife do that?
No.
She doesn't stick things in your room that she doesn't want to see.
No, well, it's a work room, so it's kind of my excuse. But oh yeah, you know what? Storage stuff. Yeah, storage stuff does get thrown in.
Yeah.
I share that space for that. So there's boxes and stuff, but yeah,
I don't know if you can see it. You see that green lamp back there? The green lamp. So that's a lamp for if I want to shoot outside, like shoot a video.
Yeah.
But she doesn't want to see it in the other room, so it's there.
No. It's the atmosphere.
Yeah, it's fine. How's it going? Have a good week?
Oh, it's been busy. It's been, I'm tired, but yeah, all good.
Yeah, no big disasters this week, so that's good. I mean, in Japan, in America, of course, we have the big hurricane.
When was the earthquake? Was that already? Was that last week? Was it?
Well, yeah, last week. Was last week. In the Hokkaido thing, that was last week, right? Yeah, it was last Saturday. Last Saturday morning.
They've still had power blackouts in Hokkaido this week. It still has been rough up there. And Osaka as well. They only just started to replace that bridge to the Kansai airport. Kansai airport's still closed, right?
Well, that's because of the typhoon, right?
That's because that tanker was pushed into the airport causeway and damaged the bridge.
I saw that. That was amazing. That was an amazing footage. Yeah.
Yeah.
My wife usually doesn't call me to come watch the news, but you gotta see this.
Yeah.
She's upset with the new angle. She goes, "You can't really appreciate it. You know? It looks much better from another angle."
So yeah, there haven't been any new ones anyway, which is good. But the ones from last week are still having an impact.
So the population of Hokkaido is 5.4 million.
Is that right?
And we were talking about this on YouTube, on Facebook. I put up a video about immigration, and someone mentioned that I don't think it was you, but someone mentioned that Japan is set up to lose like 5 million people in the next few years, right? And there is that argument that it's really a big deal if Japan loses. You know, Japan needs to keep its population up, but do they really? You know, you've studied this, right? You've studied this. Is it really that vital? I mean, if we don't have the population, then we're going to make do. We'll have a problem with money and the social security system and all that, but we'll figure out something, right? It'll force us.
I haven't studied it. I mean, it's something that affects every company and so on in Japan. I remember hearing a few years ago asking Abe, you know, don't we need more immigration to replace the population? And he said, no, I don't think so. I think we can manage. But what's been happening is progressively now each industry is saying, oh, we've got a worker shortage. We need more visas. We need more foreign workers in to help make up the labor pool. So manufacturing, agriculture, retail, IT, one by one. You know, although anyone can get an English teaching visa in Japan, you know, you can only get visas for specific types of jobs in Japan. Right. And those categories were relatively limited. Like if you're an expert at something, or a lecturer, or an educator, or a, you know, arts humanities, or you know, but like there weren't visas for construction workers. There weren't visas for farm workers. There weren't visas for factory workers, unless you could get in like as a Nikkei or something else. But now each one of those industries are like telling the government, like, yeah, I know you guys say we'll figure it out, but we're already at a crisis now, and we need you to let us use workers. So. I don't know, everyone's sort of been on the one in terms of the worker shortage. Everyone's optimistic that somehow we muddle through, but it sounds like we're not. So immigration right now is really changing. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Obviously, it's going to be impossible to sustain social welfare and stuff like that. Pensions.
Yeah. So I mean, I understand that we need the social welfare, but you know that what do they say? Necessity breeds. How's the expression go?
Invention.
Necessity is another invention. So we'll figure out something, I guess, on that end. But didn't they introduce something last year to make it easier to bring in like factory workers and things like that?
Yeah. 2 or 3 years ago, they introduced the apprenticeship visa scheme, which basically would allow people to bring in to promote transfer of skills and technology to other countries. They would allow farmers and factories to bring in people to like as junior like apprentices, and basically they would be allowed, if they just applied for this apprenticeship scheme, they could be outside of the traditional visa category. So you could have factory workers, you could have farm workers, and the idea was that they were here to learn. So they were free from the normal restrictions of needing to provide things like insurance and, you know, protection and so on, workers' rights protections. So what's happened is that every factory that's having trouble, you know, making money and is short of workers, and every farm have been using these foreign apprentices as basically slave labor. They've been paying them minimum wage in Japan. I don't know if it's actually legally set, but it's like about 800 or 900 yen, right?
Yeah. You know what? They just raised the minimum wage here in Aichi. I had a flyer on it, and they raised it like a little bit, but I didn't even know there was a minimum.
Yeah, but like they're basically paying a lot of these.
Oh, I got it. Check this out. Actually, check this out. Yeah, there you go.
871. There you go.
There you go.
So they've been paying these people like 200 yen an hour and 300 yen an hour, and confiscating their passports and reporting them to the police when they run away. So it's basically been used like a slave, like a slavery system.
Yeah.
And the abuse of it's been so bad, it's caused trouble for Japan's international relations. But the Japanese government doesn't want to do anything about it because people need 200 yen an hour Vietnamese workers. So that's the reason all these Vietnamese have suddenly exploded. The population of Vietnamese has gone from like 0 to like 500,000 people in like 5 years. It's because they're coming in on these sort of labor visas, and they're getting abused to all hell. And there have been cases, where people on these visas have like killed their bosses and stuff like that. They've escaped, and it's treated as a police matter.
They have killed their bosses?
Yeah, there were some cases down in Osaka and stuff where there were just some particularly nasty bosses that were abusing some Chinese workers, and they all got together and murdered the boss. But like real slave conditions. So that's kind of happened. There's been a lot more workers come in around that, and there's been a government scheme to promote it, but they haven't really done anything to protect the workers who have come in.
I've noticed a lot of I want to ask you about this. I think Tokyo's the same, but have you noticed that not all, but a majority, a significant amount of the convenience store workers are now like Nepalese?
Specifically Nepalese? There have been a lot of non-Japanese, and there are a lot of Nepalese.
In Aichi, it's mostly Nepalese. It's almost across the board Nepalese.
Okay, well, that's interesting. I mean, certainly you do see a lot of. I don't know where they're from. They could be Nepalese. They look Bangladeshi, Indian.
Mm-hmm.
They could be Nepalese. But yeah,
but a lot of foreigners.
Certainly a lot of foreigners. I mean, there isn't a convenience store in Tokyo.
Really recent, like 5 years ago, you didn't see it. It was very rare 5 years ago, and 10 years ago, it was unheard of. You never saw any.
Well, and the thing as well is that there is still no convenience store work visa. The convenience store, Family Mart, 7-Eleven are not allowed to sponsor visas for foreign workers. They've been lobbying the government to be allowed to hire foreigners.
Right.
So all of those people working at those convenience stores are here on other visas, like student visas, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So technically, they can't employ them full time either. But yeah, no question. In Tokyo, it's actually probably now see fewer Japanese staff than non-Japanese staff.
That's bizarre. Yeah. A lot of places just have foreigners.
It's the same thing. They just can't. Nobody. Every sector of the economy suffers from employment shortages, from worker shortages. And if you're a student and you can get paid 2,000 yen an hour doing any job that you like, why would you choose a tough job like a convenience store job? Nobody wants to do crappy jobs.
Where I also noticed a whole bunch was Sushiro. You remember Sushiro?
I know Sushiro. I haven't been there for a while, but yeah.
So I haven't either, but we went there last weekend with my in-laws, and the kids wanted, it's easy to have kids there.
Yeah.
Anyway, so but like half of the waitresses were from Thailand.
That makes me want to go to Sushiro. I don't know.
Yeah, they were kind of cute, I guess, but they're friendly. They were nice, and their Japanese was pretty good.
Yeah, it must have just been that place. I don't know. I didn't notice anything in particular. The other thing is that there's so many Chinese, and so many of the Chinese and the Koreans, it's not really unless you look at their name badge that you even realize half the time that they're actually not Japanese.
It's true.
If you look at the name badges, you more than Nepalese. There's heaps of Koreans, heaps of Chinese.
And Chinese, yeah. I have noticed that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but probably the Nepalese stick out more because they're physically different looking. Chinese, you don't even notice at the time.
Nepalese are actually pretty diverse as well. It's a small country, but you get the Japan and the Chinese looking type, and you get the very Indian looking type. Right. It's a funny, it's a really interesting country.
But China also has a lot of Middle Easterners in the north, right? There's that one section that's all.
Mr. Cordy Champ, I'm not saying that all Asians look alike. I'm saying that Chinese and Koreans in particular, when they're very fluent at Japanese, it means that, I mean, Japanese have very diverse faces, and Japanese themselves, remember, Japanese ethnically, they come from Philippines, Taiwan, Mongolia, Korea, China, like the DNA of Japanese people is pretty diverse. And yeah, you'll get some people that will have a face that will go, oh, you're Japanese. But even Japanese people, there's a lot of overlap between Korea, China, Japan. And if you get a Chinese person who's born and raised in Japan, dresses like a Japanese person, acts like a Japanese person, and speaks like a Japanese person, pretty much, it'll only be because of the name that you'll even pick up that they're not Japanese. That's pretty common, even more so with Koreans. I mean, sometimes you'll get the Chinese who look Chinese are the Chinese from China, not the Chinese who've lived in Japan a long time.
Yeah.
So it's not that there's a particular. This is what a Japanese person looks like.
Well, Chinese. You know what? I'll play the devil's advocate and tell you that all Asians look alike if you don't know Asians, and all Americans look alike if you don't know. All Westerners look alike if you don't know Americans.
Yeah, be careful with that one. It is funny. That's
Well, how many times are you mistaken to be as an American, even before you open your mouth? People just assume you're American.
Oh, I mean, that used to happen. People have gotten a little bit smarter about that. I guess there have been enough annoyed English people and German people know that people in Tokyo don't do that. But what I do get is, I noticed this myself. When you're like in a New Zealand or American, there's a crime story, and they describe the ethnicity of the person, the height of the person, the hair color, the eye color, the skin color. And obviously, in Japan, all of those things don't distinguish the people very much, and it is a bit of a joke, right? My racist New Zealand and Australian friends would say, "What do they say when they put out APBs in Japan? We want any person from Japan." The criteria are different.
They say mushoku. They always tell you mushoku. He didn't have a job.
Yeah.
It's almost like the guy never has a job.
But the thing is, I've noticed. Westerners, like Europeans, we're used to having like red hairs, brown hairs, blonde hairs, so on. And we look at those things. We look at the color of the face and stuff like that. Japanese have really diverse face shapes. I think more diverse than West Europeans. So I don't know. It's kind of funny.
Really, more diverse than West European. Huh?
I would say so. So when I'm looking. But I haven't seen a Westerner for a while, and there have been some times when I've been in Japan where I've gone weeks and I haven't seen a Western face. I've mistaken Western friends, or a Western person in the street, for someone that I know, and I realize what happens is your face.
Oh, that happens to me too.
Yeah,
I think I'll know someone. Yeah,
your face gets trained to look at the things that set things apart. So for us, it's easy because we just look at the color, and But with Japanese people, you look at the shape of the face more than you look at the color of the face.
That's true.
And so when you're in Japan for a long time, Japanese start to look super diverse and super radically different to each other, but Westerners start to look the same. I mean, it's like a racist joke, but it's actually true.
That's true.
I look at I can't tell white people apart anymore. I mean, it's it goes in that direction. Some Japanese have like these massive jaws and big faces. Some have small faces. Some have so I don't know. I've developed an impression after being here too long and just seeing so many Japanese faces that actually, to me, it's like when you watch those survival shows and people go into the jungle and they talk about how when they've been there on Survivor for like 3 weeks and they come out of the jungle, when they go in, everything just looks green to them, and when they come out, they realize all the different greens and stuff. Like their eyes adapt, their brains adapt, and it becomes different. You see faces differently when you've been here a long time.
I guess it's a little bit like people. They say people who go blind, their hearing gets better, and they can tell things. They become more sensitive.
So I'm sure if aliens came down to Earth, all humans of all races would probably look exactly the same to them because they're not used to their brains aren't wired to distinguish human face.
So Cordy Kep is the one who says that he implied. Well, he said you think all Asians look alike.
It was a throwaway comment. He's okay, but yeah.
Okay. It was interesting. No, but it's true. When I first came over, I would meet people that I had already met, but I couldn't tell that I'd met them. I couldn't remember that I'd met them, and then I would meet other people for the first time who were really friendly to such a point that I thought, have I met this person before? Because I couldn't remember. But after a few months, I started being able to see everyone. So in the beginning, everyone looked the same to me. But after a while, everyone looked really different. And I started seeing comparisons like this guy looks like Mel Gibson, this guy looked like Charlie Chaplin, or this guy, I started to see equivalents in Asian faces that look like, people that I knew back in the, I can associate them, with people.
I do the same thing. I see Japanese people who remind me of Westerners all the time.
Yeah. And they make, in fact, if you go online, you will see there are certain talento who look like so maybe I can find it. There's some Japanese talento who looks like Matt Damon. Do you know who that is?
No, I'm not keeping up with it.
But anyway, they have that kind of thing.
But logicos. It's just the human brain, right? It's like if we look at golden retrievers. If you show us 20 golden retrievers, they'll all just look like the same sort of dog to us. But if you hang out with them for a long time, the dogs' faces will become as familiar as human faces. It's like people who hang out in the jungle with chimpanzees, and they can immediately recognize chimpanzees like they're recognizing their friends. Not a good analogy, I know, but it's sort of like the point is a face. Our brains adapt to be able to distinguish them with familiarity. And it's actually true that even going country to country or culture to culture, our brains sort of get rewired. It's certainly something that's happened from being here.
Yeah. And of course, the other way around, people think, people make outlandish comparisons about us. Like, oh, Victor, you look just like Tom Cruise. I'm like, what? No.
Yes, I do.
You get that all the time, right? And it's just ridiculous. But it's because they're Asian and they're not used to our faces. So
I should sell them some Hubbard books or something. I don't know.
Really, I get that one a lot. I used to get that one a lot. The Tom Cruise thing I always thought that was just so ridiculous. But why not go with it, right?
That's right.
What did you get?
What did I get? I tell you, one time when I was in the souvenir shop in New Zealand, some Ibaragi schoolgirls trip came in, and some overly excited girl who had never seen a gaijin before.
Jason Statham.
No, it wasn't that. It was kind of before he was famous. So okay. I got that a little bit after. But I got only once in my entire life. I only got once Brad Pitt from this girl. And when I got back, I was so happy. I said, hey, someone just said I look like Brad Pitt. And all my coworkers, my Japanese coworkers, like, dude, you look nothing like Brad Pitt. Seriously, like she must have had like the worst eyesight. And it became like a mocking joke. Apparently people would be introduced, hey, this is Hiko from work. And they look at it and say, hey, you said you look like Brad Pitt. Like they're really disappointed. So I decided never to earn that again. Never to try owning that again. But yes, I had that once. You know what I used to get? I used to get in the 90s when I was in New Zealand before I came to Japan. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've ever heard of Kent Gilbert.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, I used to get Kent Gilbert.
I can see that. I can see that. Gilbert. Yeah. I guess I can kind of see that. Yeah.
I barely know who the guy is actually, but people would tell me that. People in the shop, when I'm standing in the shop in New Zealand, especially I worked in the Ohashi Kyosen gift shop. He used to be like Johnny Carson of Japanese TV, and Kent Gilbert would come on his show all the time. So Japanese people who were like Ohashi Kyosen fans would see me and say, oh, you're Kent Gilbert. I'm like, who is that guy? He must be really good looking. But yeah.
Have you ever had your voice misidentified? So there's a pretty famous what's his name, James something. He's a radio announcer here in Nagoya, and he speaks only in Japanese. So when I would go out and talk to Japanese people, of course they don't know what he looks like, right? But they would hear my voice and they would think, "Are you the DJ?" You know,
I've never been mistaken for a DJ voice ever. So
apparently I sound like this. But yeah, but it's probably because there were fewer fluent or semi-fluent Westerners in those days. But speaking of which, that would be a good category. That would be something I like to make a category on my Chan forum. Japanese speaking foreigners, because they're increasing now, and there's one guy.
That's a good idea.
Who I'll say what his name is Charlie. Is it Charlie no Seikatsu? No.
Charlie no Seikatsu. He's been around for a while.
He speaks Japanese okay. But there's another guy. Hold on a second. I can find him. I did a video about the tattoo thing. You know, we talked about that I think last week, right?
Yeah.
He did a video on it too, and he says that the Japanese got all over his ass. But he does it's pretty interesting. He does his videos half in Japanese and half in English. So he varies the jimaku depending on which. Yeah, whatever she's speaking, but his name, that would be a good bundle to make. But I don't know many. I just know there. Charles Talk. I'm sorry, Charles Talk. Check him out.
I will look that up. Logicos. I DJ like playing music, but I don't do the radio DJ deep voice sexy talk. As much as I think I'd be great at it, no one's ever actually offered me the job. So Charles Talk.
Yeah, and he's got some pretty good videos that came out 2 months ago. 166,000 views. Some much lower. He got haircut videos, but he does a lot of Japanese, a lot of stuff in Japanese, and a lot of jimaku, a lot of subtitling. So it helps a lot.
Eric is funny. He says that he's been told that his face is perfect for radio. So have I.
Oh, me too. I've got the perfect face for radio. Right. Where are we? Eric Bailey. Okay, yeah. Anyway, who else speaks Japanese a lot in their videos? You used to, and I used to, but we don't do that anymore, do we?
Yeah, it's kind of a thankless pursuit, I find. You know,
I always feel the urge that I want to communicate in Japanese to Japanese people, kind of tell them shit that they don't know. I figure it would be useful for them to know so they can understand a little bit more.
I would prefer to do this show. I mean, this show started in Japanese, remember, as well. I would prefer, honestly, I love all of you guys, and you guys are the reason I do this in English, even though I prefer to do this in Japanese. The reason we stopped doing it in Japanese is that it was basically, I guess it's not that people don't watch, because the views did end up mounting up, but there were never any comments, any reactions. So
no interaction.
It felt like you're talking to yourself, and it kind of felt like, man, what are we doing? Whereas when we do it in English and we've got all this interaction, it actually feels, like we're not just talking, in an empty room. So I guess that's why. But honestly, I mean, if I could have like comments like as great as you guys are from a Japanese audience, I wouldn't hesitate to do all my videos and go back to doing all my videos in Japanese.
Yeah, if I had more interaction, I'd probably do more. It's depressing. Depending on what you're talking about, but you do get views. I mean, I did something simple. I just walked around and said I met a yakuza, because there's this guy in my neighborhood who was a yakuza. He died. He was a yakuza, and I talked about how I met him, and no big deal, But it was just interesting that to hear how the neighbors talked about him. It was just a little chatty, just a little gossip crap.
Yeah.
But it got a lot of views, not a lot of comments, but more comments than usual. Anyway.
Yeah,
I think that's one of the last ones I did in Japanese, and now I just don't do it anymore. But I still feel the urge once in a while.
Yeah. I'm just going through my subscriptions.
So who speaks Japanese, and who's a foreigner who speaks Japanese? We got Charles Talk.
I mean, of course you've got I consider PDR is Japanese, so that doesn't count. Although of course he's half, but and he speaks great English, but he's basically hugely successful as a Japanese language vlogger. So. More as an expat who speaks really good English. Let's try to think for a sec.
I don't really know who speaks Japanese a lot in their videos. Does anyone know? Anyone in the comments there? If you know someone, please shout them out. We'll make a list for it. We can make a bundle and share it later.
Oh.
Yeah, even if we don't finish it, if you don't get it done today, we share it later.
Yeah. I'm trying to.
Have you been sharing any of the bundles on Twitter? Because I'm interested in some of the bundles you have. You shared the bundle of everyone who attended the party. Have you shared that one?
Yes, I shared that one multiple times and in the event.
Okay.
But I must admit, I have not been very diligent about I'm tweeting. I haven't done. I've just been sort of swamped this week. I haven't really done very much. I always read news on the train and I tweet out stuff from the news, but I haven't done any bundles this week, which is bad.
So about Japanese, Mr. Kortikep says, are they too polite? It's not that they're too polite. It's that they don't feel, and this is, I'm using my wife as a reason. They don't feel the urge to give their opinion. They don't feel compelled like we do to they have to write something. Right? They'll think something, but they don't feel like they have to tell you.
Well, my take is that and a couple of other things. One, Japanese are super sensitive about privacy, and a lot of Japanese will watch YouTube without ever creating a YouTube account. Like they'll just watch it for free and they'll just browse around it, but they'll never actually use subscriptions. They'll never create a login. So this is one thing compared to Western users. Everybody creates a login. Everyone comments on the videos. There are things when they can comment without needing to feel like they're revealing their identity. And this is something that I think people feel sensitive about using Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and so on, and LinkedIn. And the reason the Japanese don't use those sites is they hate giving information about themselves to companies. But then you have like Nico Doga, which was originally, you could go on there anonymously, just come up with any handle, post anything that you like, and you could instantly see the comments over the video. Right. That was really popular. And it was popular because people felt safe talking on the site. They didn't feel like it could come back and haunt them, what they said. Nichan, Japanese comment, 30 million something, users, individual users a day.
Good point.
On Nichan.
That goes against what I said completely.
It does. But the reason that those sites are successful are because they promise and protect complete anonymity. there's no need to even give an email address to use those sites. There's no way you could write, and this has been the challenge for law enforcement. You can write anything that you like, no matter how offensive, and never be accountable for it on those sites. And on those sites, Japanese go crazy. But they really, people are really afraid of being found out for what they're saying, even if they're just saying I like cats or something. So yeah, Japanese are just really self-conscious. I think it's a smart way to be, but they're really perhaps paranoid about about privacy.
And it's one of the few countries. Well, I don't know about a few countries. I don't really know that much about other countries, but in Japan they have had cases where someone has. There was a case of a guy who dropped a CD by accident. He lost a CD, and the CD had all these addresses on it, and he was arrested for divulging, because he let all that out by accident.
So Europe has laws. I mean, Japan has the same sort of laws as Europe now about privacy, but yeah, they're really serious about enforcing it. And yeah, the thing that happens, and this also happens everywhere, but Japanese understand this better than Americans do and Europeans seem to, which is that when you give all your information to a company, you better know who you're giving it to and check that they're trustworthy, because there are companies out there that do nothing but trade in personal information. They try to get as much information about you as possible to try to target people for things like loan sharks. In Japan, loan sharking is like the backbone of Yakuza. It's based on trying to get people into debts that they can't repay, and then to use them for other things like prostitution, getting them to do small crimes and so on, giving corporate secrets and stuff like that. They do it by hooking them, by getting them into debt. And they do that by finding out about people, by profiling them. And the industry in Japan for like creating like these mass mails, if they find out, for example, they used to pay banks to tell people, hey, who are people who can't pay off their credit cards? And then they'd stuff their mailboxes with like a cheap consumer credit flyers to come and say, hey, you need a loan to cover your regular debts. Come and give it to us with no obligation, and hook them into loan shark debt. So Japanese know, everyone knows that this is how you get trapped, into that sort of hell world. And they're super paranoid about abuse of personal information. The same things happen everywhere else, but people.
What is the Japanese for something Niwa? There's a place in Osaka that specializes in that.
Well,
there's a special and they call a lot of people who do that.
I don't know the specific neighborhood in Nagoya that does it.
No, I don't know Nagoya. There's one in Osaka that's so famous that people use the general word now for people who are loan sharks. Something Niwa.
They always say yamikin, like is what they call it.
Yamikin, but that's not
money.
Yeah,
but that's so there'll be a neighborhood or a genre or whatever you get trapped in yamikin. And yamikin's backbone is personal information. It's people trading in the background. Those loan sharks will pay banks. They'll pay like regular internet companies to get downloads of as much information about as many people as possible, and they create these amazing databases that they can use to target people that'll be easy to get hooked into debt. Yeah. So yeah, it's so Japanese are smart, and I think that's why they don't comment on YouTube, which is maybe smart, but it's boring as a presenter.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's true. Konaito, that wasn't it. Konaito, something else. No, Tomo might know. I don't know if she's.
Logicast is correct. It's a human right that we've lost, and we gave it up without even realizing that we were giving it up. I mean, or without caring that we were giving it up, like in Western countries. And I think it's something that we've been incredibly stupid and naive about. But there again, I don't know. I do wish we could figure out a nice halfway house where the net could be a little bit more interactive and safe at the same time.
What is so important about that for you?
For me?
Yeah, the privacy stuff.
Well, I don't care too much, but
yeah, I mean, personally, we're on YouTube and people know stuff about us.
no one wants to get doxxed, right?
Right.
I mean,
but it's happened to me.
I know. But
if you want to know where I live, just go on Nichan. My address is posted there. There's even a map. There's even a map that shows where's my house.
But we know people who have called up your company and demanded that Victor Boggio, who works at, in fact, sorry, that's okay. You're open about that. I just asked you. But so people have called up. This is hilarious. People have called up Victor's company, asked for the boss, got the boss on the phone, and said, "Do you have an employee called Victor.
Victor Boto.
And the boss says yes, and they say, I demand that you dismiss him at once. He's been posting outrageous things on the internet, and the boss says, I'll do it immediately. The funny thing being that, of course, Victor was the boss. It's his own company.
Right.
So calling up Victor and demanding that he fire himself, not realizing that he wasn't.
It's only happened like maybe 4 times, but
it's hilarious. But the thing is,
it's funny. It's funny.
But for the rest of us that are not self-employed, that's a really scary thing to have happen.
Oh yeah, it's happened. I won't say his name because I don't want to bother him. But there was one of the oldest J bloggers around. It happened to him. They called his school because he posted a few videos of him with his students during lunchtime or something. And
multiple people have had that. I can name a bunch as well.
Oh yeah.
You shouldn't talk about it, but yeah, sure. Of course, privacy matters.
But of course, you shouldn't do it either. You should be smart now. Never post things where people can find out where you live or work.
Yeah, and the thing is that even if you're not doing anything bad, you can get in trouble with work if you post about you know, generally workplaces now, even like American and Australian workplaces will have things like don't post on social media about work. So you shouldn't be so stupid as to talk about, you know, that you should keep that stuff really separate anyway. Yeah, you know, I think it's just good internet hygiene to separate things. But the
other thing that you mentioned to me, hey Chris Renman is in Japan as your hey Chris.
Yeah.
The other thing that you mentioned to me that which shocked me was quite a few years ago. I don't remember the situation, but we were talking about which one defamation, maybe defamation.
Yeah.
So in Japan, even if you post something even if it's true, but it hurts a business, you can get in trouble. Apparently that's true in England as well. There's you can't post information even if it's true if you're hurting someone else's business, right?
Yeah. If you post it, well, if it's true, so the burden of proof of defamation is high. If you reasonably, in America, if you reasonably think that it's true, you can say it, which means even if it's wrong. But if you say something where you don't reasonably think that it's true, or what is it in Japan? It's basically if you can intend to damage the company by saying something, and you're not 100% sure that it's a fact, then you're screwed. So like the burden of proof is different in Japan, and it means that for England and Japan are very defamation friendly, claimant friendly jurisdictions.
And that also, you'll see that also in commercials. Like in America, you'll have Pepsi versus Coke commercials, or this detergent versus this detergent. But in Japan, you almost never see those comparison videos.
Well, that's also different because, that's different. That's not defamation, though.
No.
Defamation is people, by the way. You can't. Can you defame a company? I don't think you can. But
I think that's that's a Japanese. What's the word? Politeness. Not exactly. That's not the word I'm looking for, but it's a part of their nature not to do it. So that's a place. It's considered playing dirty.
Yeah, in Japanese, if it's a business, they'll use the obstruction of business thing, which gets pulled out for everything in Japan. If you do anything, you know, if you act up in a cafe, if you use the toilet for too long, you know, I mean, again, it doesn't happen so much, but these things that you see in America making the news, in Japan, all of them would be dealt with. They'd call the police, and the police would just say obstruction of business. But yeah, the company thing is also just that Japan has no concept of parody. So parody, you know, has always been protected by law.
Almost nothing exists, yeah.
Yeah. In Japan, parody is like not an exception to copyright. So the thing is, if a Pepsi commercial made a commercial saying, you know, making fun of Coke, Coke could actually claim that they ripped off our trademark. They used our trademark without our permission. They were supposed to pay us money and get permission. In America, you'd be allowed to do it, saying, "Oh, it's parody. It's it's fair speech." But Japan doesn't have that concept, so people don't go there. They never do like a comedy based on lampooning.
Right. Then they don't they rarely lampoon politicians.
Yeah, because again, there's no protection for it. There's no fair speech.
Which is sad because I think there's a lot of
fair use. Yeah,
that'd be a lot of fun. But what I have seen is I have seen Japanese making fun of Western TV shows and movies by doing parodies of those.
They're safe. Yeah.
So
So there was actually a kind of has been through a boom. Now, the Pokemon has been the most popular anime on Japanese TV for like 30 years now or something. And a few years ago, a kind of a rival, an upstart came through called Yokai Watch. That was a little bit outrageous and a little bit, flashy, and kids all followed that, including my son. It's kind of funny. Yokai Watch has gone up and then it's gone down again. And now Pokemon's come back up and it's back on the throne again at the moment. But there was an episode of Yokai Watch that was shown originally on cable, and it had political satire, and it had a lot of Japanese pop culture satire in it. And it was pulled. It wasn't broadcast on regular public TV. There were complaints from other broadcast companies, and they said this is too risque, and it was based purely on the satire and parody that was in it. So
have you ever seen Yokai Watch?
Me? Of course. I mean, yeah.
Okay. So do you notice they have amazing references to American television movies? Like whoever writes that, they understand American movies. They'll do like I'll be back. They'll do Terminator references, and I'm sure the kids watching it have no idea what they're talking about.
I'm trying to remember what the one was. It was USO. It was called USO, and it actually included a parody of like the 9 o'clock news on NHK and some other stuff, like really clearly, like it showed like a fake news broadcast. I remember it also had like a full-on Star Wars parody in it, and that was like, oh, they crossed all the lines, so that episode got banned. Really? Yeah.
That's bizarre.
Yeah.
Kind of sad, but
so all of that, Japanese are just a little bit more sensitive, and because of that, you have to be careful. I'll tell you what I've been watching lately, which is embarrassing and stupid, but there are a lot of really fun car-related videos, and I started watching from Facebook, but they're on YouTube. And it's called Donut Media, and they do this sort of series of like it's all fast cut, sort of hyper talking stuff, but it's talking about like classic Japanese and American cars. And these are cars that I grew up like really wanting to own and stuff like that, and it's really well done. And that's a genre. So, for example, the bundles that I've got, and I should share one. You tell me which one I should share. I mean, comedy is an easy one, but I've got like some really good documentaries. I've got some really good car-related ones, some really good movie-related ones, like film reviews and stuff like that, and trailers and stuff like that. I've got a few bundles like that.
The trailers, I think trailers, because you watch those, you know, that's something people just watch.
I like honest trailers though, stuff like that. I like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, those are actually parodies, right? So.
Yes.
That's
do you
right.
watch
any
Japanese videos? There'll be no Japanese version of Family Guy. That is correct.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. That'll get its ass completely sued from the first episode.
Does Family Guy exist in Japan in Japanese?
I think I've never seen it actually on cable or.
I was down at the Oskanen, our Akihabara, our version of that, and I bought little bobble dolls from Family Guy. They were really cheap, but I don't think they were like the guy. I don't think he knew what he was selling. He just happened to have them in the store.
You can watch Family Guy on Netflix with Japanese jimaku. So you can get it in Japan. You can watch it in Japan, but only on the internet. I don't think you can watch it on cable. Maybe you can watch it on WoW or something. I don't know, but you certainly can't watch it on regular TV, and people wouldn't know it if you raised it in a conversation.
I don't think I even knew that was on there. Huh? Family Guy, huh?
Alex Eric Tatanai is MAE, but yeah. Peter does a maid cafe giggity.
Yes, yeah. Anyway,
have you had a chance to play around with my channel a bit yourself?
Yeah, but I was, because I lost the Gimmeabreakman this week. I had all my bundles on there. So I thought we were going to share on this.
Wait a minute. You said that you only lost your streaming rights. You can still log into it, right?
Oh, yeah, I can still log in, yeah.
If you can log into it and your subscriptions are still there, you can use my channel.
Yeah, I thought I was going to be... Well, I can still use it, but I thought I was going to stream like the screenshot into here, but I wasn't sure. I guess I could open up another browser and do it, but you know how you did it really cool last week. By the way, how did you do that? What software were you using last week?
OBS, just the regular streaming software.
So we'll do that. We'll do that again next week on your channel.
Do that over here, and I'll set that up some more.
And then you'll have to teach me how to do that. So
yeah,
that was really nice. That was very cool.
It was a nice interface.
Yeah, and you actually paid for a better one, you said?
Yeah, I paid for one which has, so that was just like some frames. It was just like a normal screen arrangement, but I've got one where you can actually type in, like, so for example, you can do a title which will say, showing video now, and it will show up like on a TV show,
Right,
like
right, right.
actually across the screen, little letters and stuff. You can actually do some really cool stuff with it.
So you can. So that guy Jake who's making that intro for us.
Yes.
You can actually show that in the beginning of the show as we start.
Totally.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So I would like to
I can animate it constantly. You could put it on a loop or a GIF and have that in the background,
like
in
in
the
the corner?
of the thing, like in the corner. Yeah.
I'd like a bundle of Japanese comedy because I'm way behind. I don't know who's popular anymore. I don't watch.
So what we should do is on Facebook, or what do you prefer, Facebook or Twitter? Have people give us suggested channels for this, and we should put those channels in a bundle and share them next week.
We'll have to do some research. It'll force us to actually go out and do some research.
But the point is, everyone watching, help us gather together. So let's decide what bundle do we want to make this week. What's the mega bundle? Is it going to be comedy?
Are people interested in Japanese-speaking foreigners, or not really? Maybe that's just me.
I guess that's the thing. We always sort of make what we find interesting, right, or what we already subscribe to.
Right.
I don't know. What's
Hey,
the new iPhone, by the way?
No.
Well, do you have an iPhone?
Yeah, I have an iPhone 6 Plus. It's old.
Oh my god!
But it works fine. But it's huge and it works fine. Hey, did you hear the iPhone is the new iPhone is considered sexist? Did you hear about this?
Oh well, I'll go and buy one right away. What do you mean?
So, and this is kind of true, but okay, all media is basically created by men, most of it, right?
Yes.
So, and men's.
No wonder that they just
hands,
don't look like bottles or something. Yes.
They should all look like penises, right? So men, something that feels comfortable in your hand. So men.
The sizes. Yeah.
Men's hands are 1 inch bigger, apparently, than women's hands.
That's
okay. And as a result,
sure.
No, scientifically they figured this out. Okay.
Yeah.
No, the average, right. And so that's why the new iPhone, the new iPhone, whatever it is, what's it called? It's not an X, whatever it's called, the new iPhone. It's actually even bigger than this iPhone 6, right? Plus. And these are so big that some women are suffering from, they can't handle it. It's too big. And they want a smaller one.
The Plus is ridiculous, but yeah.
Okay. So they're claiming that it's sexist to create phones that only fit, that are stylized or designed for men. And so they're claiming sexism, which makes it seem a little, I got to tell you, my gut reaction is that's ridiculous. But then they said that women's pockets also, like 80% of women's pockets cannot fit on the new iPhone X, the 6 Plus. Their pockets are too small. Women's clothes is not made for, or not made for iPhones, but men's pockets are.
I briefly had a 6 Plus myself, which I lost, of course.
I remember on the plane.
And it was ridiculously large. I mean, so I went back to the smaller phone anyway after that, and it's a better size, actually. I'm kind of with the ladies on this.
Really? Mm. So you have small hands, is what you're saying.
So it's not available. It is available on American Netflix. I see some debate about whether you can watch Family Guy on Netflix in Japan. I'm sure I've seen it on Netflix.
But use Hulu. It's not there. No.
What if you can watch it on Amazon? Or Milk's on one of those.
I will check Hulu now as well.
You can buy DVDs of Family Guy in Japan.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, I guess it's not available on streaming.
You can say F is for family on Netflix.
Certainly, it would be difficult to show Family Guy on regular TV in Japan because the type of humor that it is. Oh, look at that! Is it on Hulu? It might actually be on Hulu.
No, I checked. It's not.
Oh. Anyway, yeah.
I'm on Hulu right now. There's nothing.
By the way, where do you stand on this whole Serena Williams, Naomi?
On what?
Thing? On the Serena. Naomi.
Oh well. I've seen a lot of men say that it's true. We say a lot of shit that's okay. So for people who don't know, she lost her temper and she yelled and she got penalized and she lost a couple points and she claims it's sexism. And my initial reaction is, yeah, you're probably right, because male tennis players came out and defended her and said, yeah, we say worse. But at the same time, the referee there, or whatever, the umpire, he's known to be strict but fair. Carlos Ramos, right? So I don't know. Maybe it's true. Maybe that women are penalized more often than men by other umpires. But maybe Carlos Ramos is not actually a good example of that. I believe it, But at the same time, a lot of people say this. It's true. Women get upset and we say they're hysterical. Men get upset and we say they're passionate. That's just true. People say that, right?
True. It's not 100% true, but there's a trend. Sure, you can say. Probably the characterization is yeah. I don't think 100% of the time a woman's always going to be considered hysterical, or a man is always going to be considered not hysterical. I've seen hysterical men, but sure, that's a label that it is like the old thing how women who present symptoms of heart disease when they go to doctors are given like hysteria pills traditionally, like way more often than men with the same symptoms. And when it came up statistically, that doctors who were mainly men were treating the same symptoms and they did it. I remember there was a 60 Minutes show on this where they actually gave two actors or a bunch of different actors the same script to go to doctors to explain exactly the same symptoms. And there was like, you could even see in the results there that the men were always given heart medicine. The women were sometimes given like Valium, and were told to calm down. So no question, there is bias. So I don't know that it's 100%, and I also think that and I agree it should be consistent and fair. But I think that consistency should involve not being allowed to abuse anybody ever. Like I don't think it's right to abuse an umpire. As someone who referees sport myself, I saw it, and it seemed pretty rude on her part. But in her defense, male tennis players agreed with her. Well, I saw that, yeah, so, and the Women's Tennis Association also said that they believed that Ramos made the call based on a sexist mindset. So they said that even if he's not aware, he is subliminally sexist, and he made the call. So, well, there have been studies like that. They'll take judges who think that they're not racist at all, and they'll look at all the sentences that they hand down, and they can show on paper statistically that these judges who think they're not racist have given much harsher sentences to blacks or Hispanics or whatever, not whites. So I remember that came out is this thing. A lot of people said, well, what about McEnroe? Everyone loved McEnroe, and he was like, terrible at that. John McEnroe was an American champion when I grew up, and me too. And he was like for me a stereotype of Americans, and and I remember like in Australia, I lived in Australia when he was really big. And really? So you were there when that happened? The Australian, he lost the Australian Open? I was in New Zealand when that happened, but I remember he was coming up. Everyone thought he was a total asshole, right? I mean, no one thought that was normal or entertaining outside of America. Americans loved him because he was American. It was like a nationalist thing that, hey, we're brash and we don't care and we don't follow the traditions. But everyone just thought he was an asshole outside of America. And now Australia has Nick Kyrgios, who has these complete hysterical meltdowns. I mean, he abuses the hell out of umpires. And, even in Australia, he's considered a national embarrassment. But when this came up, people said, oh, people let Nick Kyrgios and McEnroe get away with it and they love them and they say that they're being passionate. I'm like, well, not me. Maybe some people do. Maybe some people give them a pass. But, it was an interesting one. And maybe it showed up myself. Maybe I was showing a bias. The only reason I even had any interest in that match, I don't give a crap about tennis, honestly. And soccer is a write-off, right? In soccer, of course, people abuse the referees. I mean, who would want to be a soccer referee? I can't understand. Honestly, you'd have to be the sort of person who the rest of the day when you're not being a soccer referee, you want to be tied up and hung from the roof and have candles like melted over you or something. I don't understand why you'd be attracted to do a job where people, in South America, they even kill the referees every now and then, but you just get abused for the whole game, right? I don't understand. But outside of that sport, I don't know. I watched it because I thought it was, I was supporting Naomi. I thought it was really cool that she was one. And I'm really like, what's this big, loud American acting like an American again, being rude to the umpire? and why are all the Americans getting upset and saying that her losing was sexist? That's how I saw it. But I obviously had a strong bias, and I know nothing about tennis, so maybe I'm sexist. Yeah.
Well, in the end, I think it's a subjective thing. There was an article about this. I think it was New York Times, where they pointed out that women actually act out less than men do. So it's really hard to gauge if they're getting penalized the same amount, because there are fewer cases of that happening in the first place.
Yeah.
Right. So it's hard to measure. So but if you can look at that and say, see, women are not getting penalized worse, but I don't know. But if the men are defending her,
the Women's Tennis Association came out on the side of the player against the referee, against their own umpire, and said, hey, yeah, that guy's totally being sexist. So, to me, they threw him under the bus by some views. But if that's what they think, then yeah, they got to fix it.
Yeah. Well, it's all subjective in the end, I guess. But I did hear that the umpires are getting together and they decided they're thinking about boycotting all of Serena Williams's matches. Like, no one's going to work them.
She got paid $2 million for losing. Right. The umpire got paid $500 for the whole tournament. I mean, is it worth it?
Really? He got paid $500?
$500 for the whole tournament.
Oh my God.
And she's up there talking about how he's all like lording over her. Are you kidding? It's like a millionaire, beating up a car park attendant.
Jesus Christ.
I mean, he's a man and she's a woman.
That's horrible. That's
so you could say the power relationship was all him because he's, a man, but there are other perspectives. He's basically like a car park chauffeur attendant.
So I will tell you a very sad story about this whole thing. So one of my students, she's about 60, and she loves tennis, and she plays tennis all the time. Mm-hmm. So I asked her about this because she's actually very intelligent. She has, maybe intelligent is not the right word, but she knows everything. Like, her history is amazing. She just she knows the names of all these organizations about the world, who's doing what, she just reads a lot. And she plays tennis. So she says, I asked her, so what did you think about this? I thought you would have a really interesting subject perspective on this, because she plays tennis and she follows that. And her opinion was something like, well, she's married to a white guy, right? Like, oh my God. Yeah. And I already, as soon as she said it, I thought, oh, this is not going to go. This is not going to be good.
Well, it sounds like the sort of way you would attack it, but continue.
So then she says, and she has a white child, right? So she's acting that way because she wants to be white.
Oh, she's acting like a privileged white person. Is that? I love that. She
deserves that because she's married to a white guy.
Well, that's the millionaire beating up the car park attendant argument, right? Which, of course, very few people see it that way, but I see how you could see it that way. Well,
not me, her. She said all that, right?
Yeah, of course.
But it was pretty embarrassing. And then, I mean, for me to hear this in class, and because I'm not supposed to really disagree with. I'm supposed to make them speak English and not really disagree with them and say they're crazy. But she said, to be honest, I don't like her. I like Steffi Graf. Like, Steffi Graf is retired. She was, yeah, but I don't like her. No. She's
They should defrost her, bring her back.
But to be honest, this woman, her attitude was pretty. I would say it was pretty racist. I think it was disappointing because she's really intelligent, but she doesn't seem to like.
She's racist against Serena as a white woman. I mean, that's like this racist on so many levels and confusing at the same time.
Basically, she was saying Serena's getting uppity because she thinks she's all special now because she's married to a white guy. And her child is half white.
Oh God, that's awkward. Yeah, okay. One thing I have enjoyed this week, however, and I really don't give a shit. I mean, like I say, about tennis or Serena Williams or John McEnroe or Nick Kyrgios or anybody, but I do just because I grew up with a lot of half Japanese friends who grew up in New Zealand, and people talk about halves, but in the experience of being half or third culture or multicultural. And I suppose when we're all in Japan, we often think about the halves in Japan, but the experience of being half in Japan and being primarily more Japanese half and being, well, of course, expat half in Japan and being outside of Japan half, these are very, very different disconnected
Yeah,
experiences.
you're right. You're right.
And the thing is, for the halves in Japan, it's been a bit of a renaissance lately, right? We've got all of these great, role models coming up. You've got Yu Darvish, you've got
Darvish, right? He's a half Iranian, I think, right? Half Iranian. Right?
Yeah, you've got all of these, famous talento actors, and all of these people, soccer players, who have all come up, who Matsushima from the Japanese rugby team. He's like his mother is Zimbabwean, his father
Oh,
is.
I didn't know that.
I mean, and he's born, raised in Japan, and is awesome. He's a world class winger. So it's kind of funny. We've reached this age, and only in the last 5 or 10 years, but the last Olympics, where all of these Japanese gold medal winners were all these half kids who grew up and raised in Japan, all of these successful sports talento. So now that there is this thing where there's a really increasing acceptance of racially multiracial kids in Japan as being Japanese when they're born and raised in Japan. But there's still this big gap, and it's a very different situation for the halves who grew up outside of Japan and the kids that I knew. And it's always been this sort of a thing. When you're like half Japanese and you grew up in a place like New Zealand, it's different. Every person has a different experience. But for a lot of people, some of them feel like, because they look a little bit Asian, they always feel like, I want to get to know my Japanese side. I really feel like there's a part of me missing. And they go to Japan. And in my day, the people like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, when they would come to Japan, they'd find a country that would look at them and say, "Oh, you're not Japanese. No, you'll never be Japanese. You're Gaijin." And they'd always have this huge complex issue of feeling kind of like an outsider in both of the cultures.
Mm-hmm.
And while the domestic halves are suddenly in a much better place, the overseas halves are still like, the reason no one says, the reason no one would call Yu Darvish a Gaijin in Japan is because they've heard him speak. They know that he's totally Japanese. They know he's come up through the whole baseball system. I should turn that off. That's
Is that your Google speaker?
Yeah, something like that.
That's funny.
But for someone like Naomi Osaka, who actually grew up outside of Japan and doesn't speak Japanese so well, but is a Japanese citizen and is half, there aren't many role models for those people to look to take some comfort. And, and for Japanese people as well, they still don't really know what to do with outside of Japan halves because they still sound like non-Japanese to them. So what's been really, what I've loved to watch is that on the back of Naomi's success, there's been this typical kind of thing where all of a sudden, like, she's this huge celebrity in Japan. The kit that Naomi was using during the American Open, the clothes, the tennis racket, has been selling out all over the place. Nissin, that was sponsoring the cup noodle company that was sponsoring her, has got record sales.
Oh, really?
She's in Japan for a Japanese tournament right now, and there's it's like Naomi mania. They're talking about Naomi-nomics. She's created a mini economic boom around the tennis industry of people scrambling.
Cottage industry?
Yeah. Just around everything that she was wearing. Like, all of her sponsors are now like, that's really paying off now. And every day you see on the news all these Japanese kids saying, yeah, I want to play tennis and I want to play like Naomi. And it's really, really awesome. And it's kind of funny because, basically, and I've seen really cynical half people like on Twitter and so on, and bloggers say, well, typical Japan, they're only liking her when she's successful. They wouldn't be accepting her if she wasn't successful. It's like,
of course.
They've always treated us like shit.
Of course.
Which is true. But what's nice though is that what's happening now, so as Japanese have expanded their consciousness, first of all to accepting people like Yu Darvish, and now to accepting people like Naomi, now there's a framework, right? Now the next time there's a Haitian American Japanese kid, and they're like, well, so where do you fit in? And they can say, I'm like Naomi Osaka. And they'll go, oh, cool, you like her. Well, there's never been someone you could point to and refer to that any Japanese person would know like that before, right? They were always, they didn't fit in the society like that. So for me, I think it's a hugely significant thing that now there is this rock star accepted, as a measure of Japanese, as a new type of Japanese person. They've always been around, but for the first time, they're being really accepted. And the pinnacle of this was, she did a press conference in Tokyo the other day, and there was this reporter from the Huffington Post who decided that they wanted to get a juicy story out of the press conference. So they wanted to drill down, and they asked her the question, what is your real identity? And they asked her through a translator. She said, oh, I'm just me. It's like, no, but what are you really? What are you? He sort of started hounding her about the identity question. Apparently the translator intervened and said, oh, omae wa moi. says, "You just shut the hell up."
Really?
So the translator shut it down, and they went to the next person. Stop being rude to the lady here. But the funniest thing was, the best thing about it was on Nichan, this was featured, and Nichan is extremely xenophobic, extremely nationalist, extremely right wing. They do hate the media, but they're also very xenophobic, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when this happened, and they heard who was this shitbag journalist who was trying to create a racial issue at the, who was hassling our Naomi, I was like, whoa, she's reached like a new level. No, the right-wing nationalists are defending Naomi against dirtbag journalists. It's like, wow, she's taken our overseas halves to like a new level of acceptance that I never thought I'd see in my lifetime. When they're defending her. So I think it's actually, in a funny way, I see people being cynical about it, right? Like, oh, geez, this is, fair weather sailors, right? Where were they when she wasn't doing well? But she's opening doors for people like her that didn't, that it's a big thing. So honestly, I could give a shit about Serena Williams feeling like she got an unfair call from the umpire. I mean, for me, all I care about is the fact that there's she's an amazing tennis player. And what she represents to all the kids I grew up with that were half Japanese outside of Japan, and always had this thing that they'd get psychologically messed up whenever they came to Japan because people couldn't fit them in. What this means for those kids is great. So I'm the biggest Naomi fan ever. So yes. Now,
where were you last year?
I didn't care before. I'm just like everyone else.
I've been aware of her for 2 years. Like I remember when she first appeared, and I felt kind of sorry for her because she was in Okinawa playing some tournament, and they were interviewing her, and she couldn't speak any Japanese at all, and I was really confused, and she seemed really kind of lost. But no, she's doing a great job. Oh, and light ties.
And she's learning as well. Yeah. And it's funny, and the funny thing is, for me, the people on my Twitter, and I've got Japanese and non-Japanese followers, but I remember the first people to jump out and say, hey, but she doesn't even speak Japanese. I speak Japanese, and she doesn't speak Japanese. She doesn't get to be Japanese. It was foreigners that were ripping on her as much as anything. And I was kind of like,
yeah, I can see that.
Why are you ripping on? And you know what? It is a little bit of this foreigner to foreigner thing. Like, hey, no, you're not Japanese. I'm more Japanese than you. And, I'm a foreigner in Japan. But they're forgetting, I kept saying to them, no, it's not just speaking the language. She was born here. She has a passport. She has a birth certificate, and she has a citizenship. And it's all legal, and no one disputes that. So how can you be saying that she's not really Japanese? I mean, you're being more racist, actually, than the Nichan Japanese people, right-wingers are. Like, what's your problem?
Congratulations.
You've reached a new level too.
Well, there's always that kind of those people are everywhere. Why do you hate America? Why do Democrats hate America? Why does Obama hate America? That's ridiculous.
I blame Obama.
Yeah.
So hey, Lada, it's good to see you. So we're over time.
I'm happy. I'm happy for. Oh, you're right. Oh wow, we were way over.
Yeah.
Hey, but I'm very happy to see her win. And I wasn't so interested in. I don't really care about tennis at all, but I was interested in seeing how people were dealing with this, with the Serena Williams stuff. And then the Australian thing interested me because you told me that Australians are basically racist, or you give me that impression sometimes.
The thing about Australia is that it's like just such a normal part of the culture there that just the levels are all totally different. So yeah.
Well, I don't actually believe they're racist, but I've seen there's that interview we talked about this last week about the Australian politician who said, hey, well, we're Australian. That was like the excuse. But you heard about, I think his name is Mark White, the Australian cartoonist who drew the picture of Serena.
Yeah.
So that one made me really think because to me, it didn't look racist. I didn't really see it. I just thought it was a cartoon, It's a caricature and that looked ridiculous. I didn't see it. But the reason I say that is because a good friend of mine, Dave, he put up all these other examples of other cartoons of Serena Williams, or caricatures. And he would say, well, see, this one's racist, and this one isn't, this one is, and this one isn't. And to be honest, I mean, some of them made her look nicer, but some of them didn't even look like her. I couldn't really see the difference. I just thought, if a guy says he's not racist, he's doing a caricature, then I'm going to take him at his word. But it was interesting to see how many people go crazy about this. Got really angry. I got people were fighting in my comment section on Facebook. And you saw that thread. It's huge. It's one of my longest threads ever. Just by saying, hey, I listened to the guy and he sounds kind of like a normal guy. I don't know what to think.
Yeah, you shouldn't have got. Well, again, so it's hard to explain this, and like I said, it's just on that island where they really don't care about anything off that island. Just the levels are different, certainly even within Australia, there's a lot of people who criticize that and thought it's a bit of a tabloid, sort of newspaper in the first place.
I don't know that either. I mean, I assume I can see that now because people said that to me later. But
all right. So there was a thing like 10 years ago, different thing. So there was Kentucky Fried Chicken sponsors the World Cricket Series, which is actually a World Series where multiple different country teams play this huge cricket tournament. And Australia is one of the strongest teams, and they all come to Australia. And one of the biggest rivals of Australia is called the West Indies. And the West Indies is a team that's actually made up of multiple Caribbean countries. It's Jamaica, Trinidad, Tobago, Dominica. It's a whole bunch of the Caribbean countries all get together. They call themselves the West Indies, and they have this amazing cricket team of these 7 foot tall, huge guys that throw, that bowl 150, 150k an hour. They do these huge things, huge hits. And they were like the big rival for this thing. So Kentucky Fried Chicken did this ad making a big deal that we're sponsoring this tournament. And get down to the tournament and support Australia and buy some Kentucky Fried Chicken was the theme of the ad. And the setup that they thought they'd do was a bunch of it was basically West Indies. The scenario is West Indies is kicking Australia's ass in a cricket game, and all these really happy West Indian fans, all these Jamaican and Trinidadians are all like celebrating, and there's an Australian in the middle feeling very uncomfortable. And then all of a sudden you can see this already looks bad, right? It's a white person uncomfortable by all these celebrating black people around them, but for us, these are just sports teams. That's all, I mean, seriously. And all of a sudden, the nervous Australian felt like, I can make friends with these people. He lifted up a big bucket of Kentucky Fried Chicken and started giving fried chicken to all the black people. And, and then they all became friends.
Wait a minute, that's a real thing or commercial?
No, that was a real commercial.
That's a commercial. Okay.
And it upset American people. This got on the internet, and American people are like this. You have to understand, for us, we've been playing cricket against the West Indies for 100 years, and and Kentucky Fried Chicken just happened to be a sponsor of the tournament, and this was just kind of a funny scenario. But obviously, to someone from an American cultural perspective, this looked like a white person feeling uncomfortable around black people, and then pacifying them with fried chicken. And the ad was Kentucky Fried Chicken took the ad down. Probably global headquarters in America said, let's stop doing that, Australia. And the thing is, I know, I watch it, and on the one hand, I can appreciate there was no racial intent behind that whatsoever. I understand the setup for that, but at the same time, that looked really bad, and they really shouldn't have done that. And that's Australia. But they don't care either. And when people were complaining, they were just like, stupid Americans don't understand shit. Seriously, we have to accommodate your insecurities.
Japan is the same with the blackface. That's been the same defense. And Chibi, not Chibi Maruko. What's the name of the little blackface cartoon girl? The famous book. You know what I'm talking about?
I'm not sure.
There's a famous Japanese sambo book. It's a little girl who chases a tiger around, and she's very famous, and she's a hero, and the kids like her. And there's nothing negative about it at all. But from a Western point of view, it looks like they're just doing a blackface version of it.
So same in Australia, same in Japan. What's happening is people are being dragged kicking and screaming to accepting common standards of sensitivity. And I think that's a good thing because, you could inadvertently, the chances that even in Australia, Australia, as much as they still like to think that they're an island where they can act different, behave differently, and same in Japan, everyone's becoming increasingly aware that, no, it gets posted on YouTube and you're going to get in trouble. And they know next time KFC Australia decides to make an ad, they know that they're not going to be able to do that again because they learn from this. So, yeah, it's exactly the same thing. Every country used to be able to have different standards, and you can't have different standards anymore. And that's actually a good thing because, people, if it results in people's feelings getting hurt needlessly, why would you do that? If you know it's going to
exactly.
happen.
That is always that's my ultimate way of how I decide everything. If you respect someone and they say they don't like it, then okay. Stop it. Yeah, just stop it. Yeah, so I agree on that. I mean, that's the best argument I can see.
Yeah.
But a white person telling me that something is racist doesn't really convince me.
Yeah. And it's always awkward, right? And it's and especially when the misunderstanding is in both directions. It's really awkward to watch, right? And then they get angry at each other. It's just like
Okay, Chibi Kuro Sambo.
Okay.
So
I'll
check
be
out
sure not to
Chibi.
look that up.
I'll give you a link. Chibi Kudo-samba is.
It's okay.
No, it's interesting. It's a really, really famous Japanese book, and kids like it. And it doesn't make blacks look. It doesn't demean them or make them look stupid, but it does look like an exaggerated representation of a black person.
Well, and that's the thing, and that's what this cartoonist should have realized as well. You know, whatever the intent, shouldn't have gone there, shouldn't have done it that way. And you know, yeah, do you have to be more sensitive with portraying black women as caricatures? Yes, you do. You do. I mean, you know, even if you fought for, you know, the end of apartheid and so on, as he says, he's like, you know, I'm not racist. Jeez, I oppose South African. I'm sure he's a wonderful guy, but you know, he should get a clue. That's he needs to do.
Yeah. Did you see the black guy who wrote he got a T-shirt that says something like "I'm Caucasian"?
No, I don't even care about that, honestly. I mean, why is that even like a subject?
I think it's a picture of an Indian, but it says like Caucasian. Oh yeah, it's called Caucasians, and it's a picture of an Indian because you know the Cincinnati. I think they're called Cincinnati Reds or something, but there's a very racist.
Oh, okay, but
okay. So he took the same picture, turned into white. Instead of having a feather here, he had a money sign coming off his head.
I read that and heard that he got death threats or something, which just shows how stupid the world is. But yes.
So what's funny is that people would walk by and say, "Oh, I like that. I like your T-shirt," and they would think it was the Indian, the Cincinnati Reds, and then they look closely and realize it's a white guy. Then they would get all angry at him. You're making fun of white people.
People are stupid. Yeah. By the way, I mean, you know, it's like I will not descend into the world of American politics and social debate because it's a bottomless pit. As we're learning every week, we think we've hit rock bottom, and we're learning that there is no bottom, is there?
No, it's an endless.
So Japan is doing great. Japan is doing great. I tell you what. I mean, you know, for all of the the dramas we think we have, we just have to look across the pond and see we're doing quite fine. So we should probably break it up. I've got to get off here soon.
Yeah, but next week let's do it on your channel if you have time.
Yes, of course.
And
let's 10:30 though. I'd like to do this at 10:30.
10:30 is fine. 10:30 is fine.
But yes, if you guys could, so come and check out 2.5 Yojis on my channel next week. We'll show some my jam bundles as well. Please get and use that. Let me know how you like it, and hang around. And we should get a guest at some point soon.
Yes.
We should get someone on. So we'll plan all of that, and we'll be back same time next week.
Thanks for checking us out, guys.
Yep.
And we will figure out. We'll figure out OBS so I can use it in the future too.
Cool.
My channel will be cool like Hiko's.
Be cool like me. Cool. Okay, I'll see you guys later.
Good night, guys.
Like if you like. Peace.